what's up everybody? Welcome to FoundFlix. On this Ending Explain, we're looking at the Cleansing Hour, following two entrepreneurs that run a webcast that streams live exorcisms that are in fact elaborately staged hoaxes. And on their latest episode, they get more than they bargained for when one of their girlfriends becomes possessed by a demon. This one is just a lot of fun, a kind of modern take on an exorcism flick, now utilizing the web broadcast angle that works quite well. As the story develops into many twists and turns, it stays entertaining and exciting throughout, despite obviously being fairly low budget. A big reason why it works is thanks to the acting. The main trio are all perfect for their parts, but in particular Alex Angelus as Lane deserves a lot of praise, as she has the most weight to carry with her possessed role, and she is aces here. Though the demon does perhaps get a bit too talky and kind of undercuts the fear a bit, but ah well. And I also enjoyed the ending that really goes for broke and actually surprised me, which doesn't happen much. So we'll be breaking down the story, the important personal history that spills out over the broadcast, figuring out just what the demon was really after, and explaining the balls out endings. We are brought into the middle of a webcast of an exorcism, Father Max in the middle of the Lord's Prayer, in an attempt to remove the demon from his latest victim. He tosses some holy water on him that causes his flesh to sizzle. Max commands him to give him his name and submit to the cross. He does comply, making the bed rise up first before croaking Beleth in a distorted tone, and begins to read the holy words, demanding he abandon this body and never return again to torment his soul. The man beginning to bleed from his head, and growls, "You are too weak to defeat me." Unfazed, Max reads on. He yells, and it appears to be seemingly a successful exorcism. He turns to the camera to wrap up, proudly declaring another demon vanquished, thanks to the power of God and prayer. And don't forget to follow us at Cleansing Hour and at Father Max on social. May God bless you and the devil miss you, he concludes. The stream rolled right into an ad for some Vatican-approved prayer towels. And already we get a pretty clear picture this is more about fame and money rather than helping people. Vatican-approved towels, come on Max. And we learn the production is a total farce. Drew calls cut, joking someone get that guy an Oscar to the victim. Drew and Max are lifelong friends, but a rift has started to grow over time, especially as Max is overly obsessed with his online persona, complaining of his account not being verified and the importance of that little blue check mark, and doesn't even pay attention to Drew, who is hoping to branch out from the normal content. But when Max does finally pay attention, he dismisses this as a bad idea and thinks that they just need to get edgier subjects, like the drag queen Dante, he suggests. Max consults with his mighty big special effects guy, and he of course has ideas for even grander effects than what we saw, like sparks shooting down from the lights to make him look like the Terminator or something. Sounds pretty cool actually. He introduces his niece Riley, acting as their new PA, currently a film student at USC. Max scoffs that he loves her look, describing it as 2000's Gwen Stefani. She, unamused, asks what the pay is, her uncle sending her off to check out the set. Another successful show in his belt, Max wants to go out to get hammered to celebrate, but Drew's fiancée Lane isn't interested, and well, neither is he, until Max drags him along, convincing him it's a form of brand management. It's a predictably miserable affair at the bar, all about Max screeching his way through some karaoke, while the others are forced to sit by and watch. The sound guy Chris offers Drew some pills, which he turns down, but when Max asks him to duet on stage, we see that he feels obliged out of their friendship to do so, whether he wants to or not, which is kind of his biggest problem at the moment. Is he really your friend, or is he just dicking you around? Afterwards, some girls come up to Max and hit on him, saying they're his biggest fans, and wonder how a good-looking guy like him can take a vow of celibacy, which he admits can get really, really hard. Innuendo! And yeah, he bangs her, great priest, right? But he boasts that he's legit, and always wanted to fight evil since he was a kid. The church, he says, denied his ambitions of becoming an exorcist, so he quit the church and taught himself. Feeling good flows within him. She concurs as he drops his robe and gets back into bed, going downtown, but the moment is spoiled when an old hag appears, sending him jumping out of bed, stammering and asking if she wants some breakfast. This is the last place you want to see a creepy old lady popping up, I'll tell you that much. Meanwhile, Drew is still concerned and upset, feeling that the show has peaked. Drew is also feeling pressured by his family to do something more normal for a career, his father sending him a pair of video glasses to come work with him. She lays it on thick that Max's only concern is himself, and that he doesn't care about him, thinking Drew is actually getting played, and that it's time to pull the plug. Preparing for the next episode, Chris, who as we remember took some pills, comes in looking pretty messed up, and decides to make the painting of Mary on the wall crooked for some reason, mumbling mumbling that it's beautiful before hobbling off. Well, that's weird, must still be doped up or something. Out on the streets nearby, Dante is trying to find the studio, but finds that his phone isn't getting a signal out of nowhere, and continues to an alley, as a person on all fours comes out from behind a pillar. That's weird. He decides that perhaps it isn't worth it, and tries his phone again to no avail. The on all fours person pops out again, sending Dante running, well, the best you can run in high heels, while the person is gaining on them. Approaching a corner, the homeless guy bursts out with wide eyes and snatches him up. Well, looks like some real deal evil has found its way onto the show after all. On set, and with no word from Dante, Drew is growing concerned that he's going to have to cancel the show, but then considers that Lane could play the victim, as it's all just for show anyway, and she was in drama club after all. She gives in, but their honeymoon has just been upgraded to Bali, telling him he better sell a lot of prayer cloths. Across the country in Washington, D.C., a well-to-do family is sitting down to dinner, the young son Bryce on his tablet. His annoyed dad tells him to put it away and asks about school, him saying that they learned about dinosaurs. Hell yeah, that is a good school day, boy. Just about to keep talking, he's interrupted by a phone call. Dad apologizing and leaving, sending the kid back to his tablet, seeing he's waiting for the countdown of the stream to begin. The show has spread elsewhere too, like at the bar, the same two girls from before chatting about Max. Max arrives with some good news. Dr. Phil wants him on his show as a spiritual advisor, sounding like he's already thinking of moving on to bigger things and leaving the show. And once again, doesn't listen to Drew whatsoever, more focused on his latest booty conquest, even showing his pal video of them on his phone. Great, thanks. Feels a little uncomfortable showing me that, but fine. Chris is still looking dreadful, and after asking for a sound check, blows chunks into the trash. Max ordering him to get cleaned up. Jeez, what did you take, dude? That was like 20 hours ago, and you're still tripping balls? Drew straps Lane into a chair, assuring her this is no big deal, and he will be talking to her through an earpiece, making sure one last time that she's okay with this. Her laughing, haha, she's changed her mind, but she's just kidding. Woo, you are gonna regret that, lady. He pulls up an encyclopedia of demons known as the Devil's Database, containing every demon known to man, along with their history and how to defeat it. Riley makes fun of them for not streaming in 4K, deeming them ghetto. Drew, annoyed, tells her, go stand by your uncle, get out of my face, kid. And she trips on a massive power line, correcting him that they're actually called stingers, not snakes, as he said. Wow, she sure knows her set terms. That 200K for USC ain't going to waste. That's true, though. That is what they're called. Max is ready to roll, asking where his queen is. Seeing Lane, Drew tells him that she bailed, and he's irritated, worried that they needed more pizzazz. His friend lays it out, it's either Lane or no show, and he's got 10 seconds to decide. With no real option, he instructs her to watch the monitors and follow his lead. And it's showtime! A pretty overdramatic title sequence touts all the people that he saves, referring to him as a powerful soldier of God and everything. Jeez, Max, ego much? He speaks to the camera, greeting his followers, and introduces Sabrina and her fake history of abuse and pain. Tonight, he hopes the audience's prayers, along with his leadership, can save her soul. Cutting to Korea, where even across the ocean, people are watching Max's show, but the other cop says he prefers the Mendy Project. A little less supernatural stuff going on there, probably. I don't know, I've never seen it. Everything is business as usual initially, Drew directing Lane to act as though something is inside of her, and cues the line to "Help me, Father Max," as Max starts blessing her. Cue his other special helper, that Vatican-approved towel, a pop-up ad to purchase your own appearing on the screen, and commands the spirit as part of his routine to tell him their name and to obey. She groans, smoke shooting out, and Chris drops the mic, Drew orchestrating in a hurry for Riley to grab the boom to keep going, telling Chris to clean himself up again. Jeez, bro, get your shit together. He splashes water on his face, convincing himself that he just took some bad stuff. Concerningly, the water flowing from the faucet turns to blood, and when looking at his reflection, his face is covered in a weird, glowing, craggy surface. Ghoulish hands reach out from the mirror, sending him falling back and bonking his head. Man, this guy is a mess. Then things on set take an uncertain turn. Drew cues Lane for her next line, but she doesn't respond, everyone becoming confused at this point. Drew again asks her to follow the script, and she finally whispers, "This is tight." Max gets right up to her and she repeats this in a demonic voice, headbutting Max. About to lose his shit, Drew calms him down, asking her to submit to his will. She laughs, Lane is gone, and she's gonna make him work for it, calling him Maxie, which catches him off guard, asking, "What did you call me?" She calls Tommy over. Lane compliments his ink, inquiring if he thinks he's some kind of tough guy, and his tattoo out of nowhere bursts into flames that quickly covers his whole body. One of Max's precious towels only fuels the fire, and even when Riley uses the fire extinguisher, same thing. It makes the flames grow in intensity. Whoa, okay. Tommy puts his face on Riley's leg and leaves a severe burn melting her flesh. Everyone aghast at what just happened. Certainly not part of the show. Drew tries his phone, getting the same error message as Dante prior, noticing the views are starting to climb. Well, maybe it's worth it. Now the demon says we're here to save her soul, and sets the rules that if Drew cuts the feed, he'll kill the girl. Same if they try to leave, leaving them only 49 minutes in the broadcast to lift the veil. Max tells them that she doesn't deserve this, and to take me instead. She grabs him, asking if he really means that, Maxie, offering that they can do their penance or become martyrs, and digs her nails deep into his arm. He tries his usual tactics of reciting verses, but Drew corrects that it's not going to work as there are specific rites for each demon. They need its name. Max yowls for it to say his name, but she sees the fan deserves better, putting it to the audience. How should Father Max #save Sabrina, leaving it to them to decide her fate. Max asks how they supposedly know God's plan, them retorting they were there when he wrote it. Drew searches the database with their clues so far, encouraging Max to do what he does best. Bullshit! Time's up, and they ask Drew what it's gonna be. And of course the comments contain all kinds of unsavory ideas, settling on the most innocent of stripping. Taking his shirt off as the demon commands, Max is hesitant, but Drew tells him not to worry, as he'll keep the shot tight so no one can see anything, and looks down seeing their viewers have cracked 400,000. Yet when he is naked, Drew can't switch the angle, giving the audience a nice shot of Max's bum. But the girls seem okay with it though. He's all right, you had your fun, snarling hardly, and brings down the entire light rig, and turns on the fixtures to all face him in a spotlight. The Hokey Pokey song turns on, the demon grumbling, you know the moves, which Max does lifelessly, at one point getting his hand caught in a spinning fan. Demon's a dick. Disappointed, she asks for more enthusiasm. Sabrina and 500,000 people are depending on him. Drew goes to the breaker and tries to stop the stream, a spark exploding out, blowing him back, and shatters one of the lights, glass now all over the floor. He's forced to put his feet on the glass, Max groaning in anguish. Although there is no relief, the lights turning up even brighter, and oddly the blood appears to go backwards, as we flash back to the past, with Max and Drew in Jesus school. He's drawn a picture of Satan, which brings the nuns ire, calling it an act of contrition, and similarly to now makes the kids get on their knees on what looks like a plank of soda bottle caps. Yeesh! Drew does his verses flawlessly, but then it's Max's turn, his friend holding his hand in support as he struggles through them, the nun shoving his knees down even harder. Well, that's pretty harsh, and we'll see more of this as the story unfolds and we learn what Max's personal story really is behind the internet facade. They're still hoping to figure out what this demon wants. Max believes that it's just to torture them, but Drew argues there must be a bigger play, and remembers a word that it used. After a query, he finds that it means lies. Well, no shit, Max spits, but Drew thinks they can still use this tidbit against it. Max does his thing, telling the demon he will do its bidding and lie for them, but still doesn't know what it wants. It says perhaps it has already made its intentions known, as Lane and the demon struggle for control, until Lane starts choking on something. Max reaches down into her mouth and shockingly pulls out one of his prayer towels. He thinks that maybe the demon wants him to tell the truth about their supposedly holy product, admitting that the claws have no cleansing power, and they're not even from the Vatican, but just cheap crap from China. Additionally, the holy water is just from his bathroom sink, and it looks like it's working. He continues that he knew better and went with it, ashamed of his actions, and begs the audience for forgiveness. Then Lane is back, asking to go home. Drew asks her to just imagine those sweet, sweet waters of Bali, and they'll be there soon. And the demon takes her back, choking again. Assuming there's something else trapped, he reaches back into her mouth. This time she chomps down on his fingers until severing them, and spits a coin at Drew. He's not as innocent in this whole thing, it turns out, as he also has his own sins to confess. He reveals that the last year he's been keeping the majority of their profits, about 70%, feeling the whole show runs thanks to him. All Max has to do is show up. Though Max tells him, I forgive you, my son, he doesn't forget, telling him he'll pay him back with interest. Hallelujah! Riley randomly decides to make a break for it that goes about as well as expected. The same statue that was set up for a special effect is launched at her, stabbing in the back of her head, the demon only giving a half-hearted shrug in response. My bad. I told her not to run. The demon still isn't stopping, chortling so many sins, so little time. A loud crash starts emanating from a cabinet nearby, but only Max, it appears, can hear it. They suddenly have more pressing issues, the broadcast signal starting to get weak. Drew is on it and starts rearranging some Ethernet cables in the back room. Lane momentarily returns that there is a bigger plan here and asks to be let out. Max laughs. You really think I'm gonna fall for that? Drew finds the culprit, a bunch of chewed up wires thanks to a rat. Chris reemerges, mumbling he saw it, the beast. As the signal drops to 1%, he manages to get things up and running at the last possible second. Phew! There's still more tea from Max yet to be spilled. As they flash back to the past with the nun, Max again struggles with his verses, and Drew helps him, mouthing along, which the nun doesn't seem to appreciate, and starts bashing his head on the desk. Man, these nuns are hardcore. And then he's back to the present. Chris describes the beast he saw, a bird with fangs and shit, a hairy body, big ass tail, part man and part goat. This gives them a few more keywords for the database, as things narrow down to a handful of possibilities. Chris hides in a stall, trying to convince himself that it's all in his imagination. No such luck! A long-limbed creature attacks from the other stall. He scurries out, and it yanks him back, but he is able to get loose, running into the main room, telling the others there's something in there, but they don't see anything. A weird creature on all fours comes out, Chris grabbing a knife. He hides behind Max, pleading to confess something, and he rattles off some minor sins like taking offering money, but gets frustrated knowing that it must be more. He looks to the Mary painting and asks Chris to pray with him. Afterwards, he opens his eyes and looks around. They appear to be gone. Hey, it worked! Oh, wait, it's back. Never mind. He starts slashing at it, but he's actually harming himself and keeps slicing himself up. They attempt to stop him, but he's too frantic, and when it jumps on his neck, he slices his own throat. Whoa, whoopsies, don't do drugs, kids. Max still doesn't get it, certain that he got all the words in the prayer right, and shouts, "What do you want from me?" Some cables come down in a noose, and a chair slides out underneath. You want me to kill myself, he asks, clarifying no, they want him to unburden his conscience. She again puts it to the viewers to decide. If he gets enough likes to reach 100%, they will save him. Everyone quickly getting to work spamming as many hearts as they can. He puts the noose around his neck, saying he has faith in his followers, and stands before them a defeated man, who has finally met his match. His grand speech interrupted by more pounding on the cabinet doors that gets more intense. It opens, and a hand comes out and growls. It's the nun lady from when they were kids, who gets right up behind him. She whispers to tell the truth. Love the sinner, hate the sin, Max continues, flashing back and forth to them as kids. He cries that he doesn't want to die, and lays it all out there about the show, that everything is a big act, well, except for tonight, hoping that's obvious by now, and that he isn't even technically a priest. He was raised Roman Catholic, but you have to follow the rules, which he wasn't good at. He admits he was kind of a dumb kid, but it doesn't take smarts to know what evil is. Back to her bashing Drew's head on the desk. He intervenes just as a pencil falls to the ground, and she falls right into it, the pencil jamming into her eye, and she screams. This incident haunted him for years, chalking it up to God punishing him for what he had done. The closer that he got to the church, he saw more hypocrisy and corruption, so he quit the church and believing their lies. And really, everyone around the world is watching the show now. 11.4 million viewers. Wow, big success! So him and his best friend created the show, and didn't think it mattered if it was fake because people loved it, and more importantly him. Although now there's blood on his hands due to his foolishness, begging forgiveness for what he's done. Still not enough, it seems. The noose going tight around his neck. He growls, he told her everything, and Lane returns screaming as blood pours down her head. Max drops the stool, getting strangled. Things getting pretty out of hand here, only Drew able to do anything. The chair falls, and Lane's face turns kind of mutated and weird looking. She weakly calls out to Drew, "You're getting played," she says, "pull the plug," remembering back to earlier when she said the same thing. He decides to cut the feed, realizing the demon needs a vessel, as well as the crowd and the tortured. He pulls it, and now on dead air, yelling, "No one can see what you do now." There's a moment of quiet with Max hanging there, the numbers starting to drop sharply, and the noose drops, letting Max go. The demon brings itself back up, calling Lane a clever bitch, and demands they put the camera back on. Understanding everything they've been told so far is a lie, why would they believe them now? And hey, she's probably gonna kill them all anyway. She goads them, thinking they've got it all figured out, but I see everything. Another keyword pares down the results to the name Eamon, ready to save the day and his friend. He says to restore the feed, the world will want to see this. They haven't input the data yet, sending Drew to the books to find more info, and quickly types it all in. The cables come to life, wrapping up Drew and pulling him away from the desk, snatching his dad's video glasses on the way. Thanks, Pops. The demon says to lift the veil. Max unsure of what more there is to say, but she's confident there's more as they flip back to Lane, and she stammers that before before they met, Max and her dated. Ooh, okay, woo, there you go. They try to downplay it that he ghosted her and that she was going to tell him and everything. His cell phone buzzes, and Max lies, saying it was a wrong number. And a video of Max and Lane being intimate together is broadcast for the whole world to see. Well, that's awkward. Lane is pissed, as Max said that he deleted it, but he mutters that he thought he did. The cables go slack, and Drew confronts his friend asking how many pictures of his fiancée does he have on his phone, and rightfully socks him in the face. The whole video reminding him of the karaoke girl, just another conquest for Max, mad that he takes advantage of literally everyone. Max groans, this is what it wants, but Drew is too upset, yelling he treated him like a brother all his life, but that he only cared about himself. Lane asks him to stop, as he's going to kill him, but the demon suggests he go for it. If he does kill him, he will let him and Lane go. He stops when seeing himself on screen and realizing what he's doing, and flips the glasses on, bringing up the demon's listing and starts reading. She yowls, getting angry, saying, "You can't defeat me," and starts throwing stuff all around the room to get him to stop. Drew ending up pinned and can't reach the glasses. He's at least able to bring it up on the teleprompter for Max to take over, and begins to recite verses about leaving this vessel. Sparks shooting out from the grid overhead. Hey, just like you wanted earlier, and it does look pretty dope. The screens explode, and the demon lets out an earth-shattering scream. Well, it didn't seem to work yet again, and after unpinning Drew, the demon breaks out of the restraints and starts beating the hell out of him, going back to the glasses to read more to hopefully end this. Max uses a cross, which he sets on fire and shatters the video glasses. To try to stop them, she sets fire to the studio, but Drew is able to get to the book, sending the demon into a void of pain, it appears. Black shadow-like wings emerge, and Lane collapses to the ground, the milky white shade fading from her eyes. So, maybe that finally did work after all? Jeez Louise, this is a persistent demon. She wakes up in a state of shock and confused. Drew embraces her as she sobs, appearing back to normal. There's still 3 minutes left in the show, again putting it to the audience for what's next. Although while the verses were able to remove the demon from Lane, it just moves into another vessel, hearing Evil laughing as the crispy Tommy gets back to his feet. They're befuddled, certain they said all the rights correctly, but there's a few problems it seems. First of all, Max is no real man of God. You gotta have faith to ward off evil, and it's been well established that Max is a total fraud in that sense. Compounding that with the issue that he's not actually Eamon, as they suggested, but a much bigger boy on the demon list, croaking that it was my list. Oh, whoa, so it's actually the devil, and then begins to transform into his true form. Hearing flesh tearing, it sloughs away, revealing monstrous claws and hooves. His head now adorned with some serious horns. Its entire body all cracked glowing skin, and much larger too. And I mean, yeah, they suggested it before, but that is definitely the devil in the flesh, which is pretty serious. We're not dealing with some run-of-the-mill demon guy. This is the big daddy over here. Even Max now realizing they are in way over their heads, chuffing it's too late for that. Lane says to cut the feed, while Max is still focused on himself, questioning why me to the devil. He gets right up into the camera frame. The viewers stunned all around the world, like, whoa dude, that's on TV right now. What in the hell, bro? The devil chants in a demonic language, as the show's broadcast timer counts down to 0, just in the lick of time. Way to go, devil. He bites the line and cuts off the signal, and wow, I really did not see that coming. Afterwards, Drew revives an unconscious Lane, asking what happened. He was hoping that she would know, as they are still a bit confused by what the hell is going on here. And she did mention a few times about wanting them to cut the feed, asking there's gotta be more to it than that, right? But unfortunately, she can't remember, though we get to see for ourselves the devil's ultimate plan, as everyone's watching eyes have turned a telltale milky white, now all possessed, and they go violent on everyone around them, brutally slaying people all around the world. Perhaps most alarmingly is our young watcher Byron, who slays his mother with a kitchen knife and then goes to visit his father to wish him goodnight, hiding sheepishly behind a teddy bear. He comes into his office, not just any office, but what looks like the Oval Office, hearing his dad being referred to as Mr. President. Uh-oh! The boy quickly pulls out the knife and slays President Poppy, hearing gunshots going off and bodies thudding. Back in the studio, the police and emergency services have arrived. Drew promises Lane that the show is canceled. Well, now what? She asks. He takes out her engagement ring and places it on her finger and kisses her forehead. And Max also got what he wanted. Precious, precious love in the public eye. His social media now now a healthy 4 million followers, and he's got his ever-important blue verified badge after all. Hooray, I guess, because it sounds like hell on earth was unleashed, basically, thanks to his show, continuing around the world and learning of widespread violence and death, as well as martial law being declared. Clearly, this was the devil's plan all along, though there is brief mention of a miracle cure, so maybe things don't necessarily go to a full-blown worldwide apocalypse scenario after all, and they are able to make those afflicted turn back to normal, but still, that's some pretty serious damage done there. So when it comes to the whole story at play, and just what the devil was doing while possessing Lane, he knew all about the phony and relatively popular Father Max, and decided to use this to his advantage. As more and more secrets and lies came out, the audience kept growing larger and larger, reaching millions by the end. And in that sense is exactly what he wanted, to get as many eyeballs on the screen to spread as much violence as possible. They were basically being used by him the entire time for this purpose. They thought that atoning for their sins was helping, but it wasn't really doing anything, and if anything was just helping the devil spread his reach further through these means. It is possible that they could have put a stop to his plan if Max actually had faith, but you know, no such luck there. Or if they were able to pick up on who they were actually dealing with, things could have gone differently as well. And hey, everyone knows that Satan is the king of lies, so they really kind of blew it there, I have to say. And this is what made them such easy pawns for the devil to prey upon. The end is also a bit weird because it feels like there's some pretty serious questions still lingering. Like, where did the devil go after biting the cables? It's just weird that after all that, he just does his thing and he's like, peace out, y'all. He really just disappears. And we don't actually really know what happens to our surviving crew either. Like, they just go to Bali on their honeymoon even though they spread this death worldwide? Just kind of weird, you know? Regardless of a few little things like that, I still really like the ending, and it's quite unexpected endgame for the story. It was a big swing for sure, and despite some holes, still was quite satisfying. Well, that wraps it up for this Ending Explained for the Cleansing Hour. While not perfect, I still thought it was pretty interesting and a thrilling experience overall, and did a lot with pretty limited sets and everything too, which is always impressive in my book. So nice job to Damien Lebec and the rest for this one. Hey, maybe we'll get a sequel or something. I could actually see that working. Kind of keep going where the story goes from there. They got to track down the devil. Where'd that devil go? That's what I want to know, seriously. Did he just go back to hell? I don't know. Maybe he's working as an insurance salesman now. I have no idea. And don't forget, before we go, you can send me requests for any movies or TV shows you'd like to see me explain by sending them my way on any of my social media accounts at FoundFlix. What did you guys think of the Cleansing Hour and its ending? What would you maybe like to see in a potential sequel? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.